Good morning, everybody. This is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and what a weekend it was. Hank Goldberg's on the other line with me. Hank, good morning.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great. It was a fun weekend. The Derby and all of the basketball and the Las Vegas Golden Knights, closing that out, going on to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, this has been incredible weekend.
It's a shame that these games haven't been more competitive. I thought the Pelicans would do a little bit better, but Golden State's just too much for them, and they just are too much. But you know, Pelicans got one win, and I'll tell you, Philadelphia, Brett Brown has done a terrible job. You know, they blew the game Saturday. They had a chance to win that game, and they had their three-point shooter when they were behind by 3 points at the end of the game after blowing a big lead, bringing the ball in instead of being on the court where they needed a three-point shot. He's throwing the ball in. And Embiid, for some reason, played the whole game 19 feet away from the rim. I don't understand that at all. It's just some of the coaching moves he's made have been ridiculous. And Embiid defensively, he just let everybody blow by him. You know, their rookie of the year has really disappeared in this series.
He really has. He really has.
Well, you know, he's afraid. He has become afraid to shoot from further out than 5 feet.
Well, lost his confidence. That makes a big difference. Well, yeah, you know, the positive side, Brad Stevens has been incredible for the Celtics. Great coach. Excuse me. Yeah, he's done a great job for the Celtics.
Yeah, look at what he's done with all these injuries.
Yep.
Nothing seems to bother him.
And when they have timeouts and he calls some plays, they're always fantastic. The end game results of the two coaches have been totally different and very successful for Stevens, not so much for Brown. Yeah, that's been incredible. As far as the West is concerned, quite frankly, it's the Jazz or not the Jazz. It's the Warriors and the Rockets. They're simply better. They're just better. And
I'll tell you, the Rockets are not very good defensively. I'll tell you what bothers me about the Rockets. That if they're not hitting their threes, which they weren't yesterday, they could easily have been in trouble in that game. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens when Rubio plays. But the Rockets are dependent totally on two guys, and I think they'll be in big trouble as far as advancing further is concerned.
Well, if it's the Warriors against the Rockets will have home court, and I still think
that doesn't matter. No. You know something? You watch that team, and they are so dependent on a three-point shot that it's ridiculous. And if they're not hitting the threes, which is more often than not, then if they're playing against any time of any kind of team, they're done.
I do believe the Warriors, even though the Rockets will have home floor advantage, I still believe the Warriors will be favored in that series.
Oh yeah, they'll be favored probably in every game.
I don't know if they'd be favored in every game. I'm not sure about that. Especially like if they won game one at Houston would probably be favored in game two. That's usually the way the line swings. They'd definitely be favored at home for sure. It's possible you get the Rockets favored in one or two games in the series if it goes seven. As far as the Cavs, I don't know what to say about the Cavs. They kind of dogged it all year long. They had a lot of changes in players and everything there, but LeBron is just absolutely incredible. I don't know what to say about him that hasn't already been said. The guy's amazing, and
that last shot that he took was pretty incredible. It would have helped the people who had the over if he didn't make that shot, because overtime would have helped those who had the over in that game.
yeah,
He had always in the past been reluctant to take the last shot in the game. When the game was on the line, he always wanted to distribute the ball. And now he's just seen what he's got, and he's decided to take the games over. And he's pretty much unstoppable. So when he gets up against Boston, the Celtics have some defense, and it could be different.
well, yes, absolutely. You're going to run up against a well-coached team that's lacking in a couple of players, but still, it's going to be, it's still, even if that series happens, probably will, it's going to be tough.
What the difference is, their rookie can play. That kid from Duke is good.
They got some good players on that team, and a very good coach. Boston has yet to lose a home game in the playoffs, which is, of course, they haven't faced LeBron James either. Any afterthoughts about
that was another case of lousy coaching by Philadelphia.
Oh,
Everybody who's played against LeBron knows that he likes to go to his left in that situation, and yet they didn't have anybody guarding him over there. That could have been avoided.
Well, you mean Toronto?
Oh, Toronto. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a bad job by Toronto. Yeah, they should have had some. They should have known that that he's going to go to his left, and they were asleep on that.
Well, I mean, he brought the ball the length of the floor, and they never tried to stop it. They never tried to take the ball out of his hand. He just got a running start from the end of the floor and went right downhill. And I mean, that was a tough shot. I mean, it was a miracle shot, but you never got.
It was a tough shot, but that's his tendency is to go to his left.
I think you'll see a coaching change in Toronto after this fiasco. They've had enough, I think.
Well, you know what? They're the Cincinnati Bengals of basketball. They can't win a playoff game.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. The Hank, you had a big weekend with the Derby and everything. Any afterthoughts about what happened and Justified and all that? He looks like a hell of a horse.
Well, yeah, he is. He had a little bit of an injury coming out of the race. When they went to see him, when Baffert brought him out for everybody to look at him yesterday, a lot of people who saw him noticed a slight limp in his left hind leg. But Baffert doesn't seem concerned about it. It's sometimes when a horse runs on a very sloppy track like that, he'll come out of the race with, in terms you would understand, with a slight burn in his hind legs. And it takes 2 or 3 days of treatment to cure that. So it's nothing, something to keep an eye on. Nothing that should bother him going forward. He loved the sloppy track. When that track came up sloppy, nobody pointed this out except me. You got my phone call, and I told you about Chad Brown's horse, number 6, who
Good Magic.
Good Magic, who was by Curlin. And I recalled to you that when I was doing the Breeders' Cup in Monmouth a few years ago, they had about 4 inches of rain on the track, they couldn't get that track dry because they had a quagmire there. It was pouring down rain, and Curlin just frolicked on that turf, on that track, that floppy track, and won by about 10 lengths. And this horse by Curlin inherited his dad's love for the off track, and so he ran a big race and came in second. By the way, they're still looking for Mendelssohn. He ran, yeah, I think he was either last or next to last.
Wow.
And Fletcher's best horse, as I said, was Audible, and he did his usual closing job and finished third. The shocker was Hollendorfer's horse, who came in fourth at 50-1 for a $17,000 super. And, that horse had hit the board in every race. He was disappointing he had won a stakes race at the fairground, and then he was disappointing after that. And he did run third in the Santa Anita Derby. And Hollendorfer really wanted that horse to be in the Kentucky Derby, and everybody ignored him. And I ignored him too and made a big mistake, or I could have hit that super. But I was happy with the $69.80 exacta payoff, and the trifecta paid $181, which was a nice payoff. So he made money, and I said on CBS Saturday morning that if that track stayed sloppy, that 6-7 exacta box was looking pretty good.
Yeah, you did that, and the national audience heard you do that, and it was congratulations on a great result, Hank.
I had another good winner that day, and that was Yoshiba, Bill Mott's horse, one of the grass races, because I knew that they had recruited that horse pretty heavily for Ascot, and he had accepted the invitation, and he won at 12-1, beat the favorite, who was the Chad Brown horse, and that exacta came back $97. So that was a good score.
Yeah, Yeshiva seems to, that's the horse that lays off a lot. That trainer does well when his horses lay off for a long time, which is kind of unusual.
It's Bill Mott. He's good with horses coming back. And so, but going forward to the Preakness, I think only 2 horses are coming out of the Derby so far who are going to run in the Preakness. Wayne Lucas is going to run his horse back. He didn't run all that badly. He was part of the pace. And Wayne's going to have 2 horses in the Preakness. And Todd's got a horse who did not run in the Derby, who is pretty quick, who will probably run in the Preakness. Chad has indicated that his horse will skip the Preakness. I think a horse who ran pretty good was the one we liked, who was the 9 horse who, everybody had touted, who was the Mott horse, who looked pretty good. And he actually made up some ground in the race. And he's going to move on to the Belmont. And he's the horse to watch going forward. Talking about Hotford.
Yeah, right.
Hold on. Hotford made up some ground, but it was difficult for closers on that sloppy track from where Hotford was coming from. And Audible was the only one from the 5 post who was in position to make a run at the finish. But Hotford, despite the fact that he had a little trouble early, he finished well in the Derby despite the off-going. So they'll have him ready for the Belmont. But not too many horses from the Derby are going to show up for the Preakness.
Which means Justify will have some fresh horses to go run against.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's so much better than all of them.
Right.
And he's got the right running style for a little bit of a shorter race.
And he's got a damn good jockey on top, too.
Yeah, Mike Smith.
Money Mike, he does a great job. Yes, he's a very impressive guy. Baseball's been real good. The Yankees are loving it. We got some teams that
Yankees Red Sox playing each other tomorrow.
That's right.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something. The Cardinals last night, without their top three hitters, managed to squeak by the Cubs. Cubs lost 5 straight games right now, and they're not playing all that well. And by the way, the Marlins have already won as many games this year as last year's team had at this point in the season.
Wow.
How about that?
That's amazing. You know, today, that game, I'm looking at the line right now, the Cubs are 228, 230 in that game. You'd have to be out of your mind to bet the Cubs at that price against Garcia. That you'd have to be out of your mind. That, even if you win the bet, it would be a terrible bet.
Well, they're I'm amazed that the Cardinals won that game because they couldn't hit at all, and they went 14 innings, the Cubs went ahead in the top of the 14th, and the Cards had a walk-off home run to win it.
Baseball season's heating up. The weather is heating up. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty in the NBA. How about the Las Vegas Golden Knights, Hank? They're moving on to the...
If this was not hockey, this would be the biggest story of the year in sports.
You're right. Hockey doesn't get that much attention, but boy, I'll tell you, here's an expansion team that was, I don't know what the price was in the beginning to win the Stanley Cup, and they're going to move on and move into the Western Conference Finals, probably against Winnipeg, I would guess.
Yeah, Winnipeg can wrap it up tonight, and they're ahead 3-2 in their series.
Right.
But against Nashville. But I got to tell you something. The sports books out there are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
If they win the Stanley Cup.
You know, as a promotion, I don't know if everybody knows this. As a promotion, the sportsbook are giving out tickets on the Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup for free in the beginning, and and they figured people would just, put them in a frame, but now they're going to have a chance to cash them.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah. Hank's picks are at Jim050718, mine as well. I've been doing very well as well, and I'm looking forward to this week. I'm really feeling very comfortable about what's going on. Baseball's been going good. Baskets are heating up. Hank, thanks for the time today, and we'll talk to you again on Wednesday.
All right. I hope all my guys are happy with the Derby prediction. We came through for them again.
They should have been. Yes, you did. You're pretty consistent in these big races for sure. Thanks, Hank.